I'd like to introduce Shay Everitt. She is the Senior Advisor in Childcare and Early Learning Division for the Texas Workforce Commission.
Thank you so much. I am happy to be here. This is the second presentation, hopefully y'all have seen today, so hopefully you're a little awake. So like she said, my name is Shay Everitt. I just got back from maternity leave. So some of these initiatives I'm going to be talking about were really finalized while I was gone or while I was like really sleepy and sleep deprived. And so my colleague, Allison Wilson, will chime in as needed or help answer questions as we go through this. But yes, please ask some questions. And I would like to know a little bit more about y'all. How many of y'all were in the childcare session right before this? Okay, most of you. How many of you are from urban areas in the state? Just a couple. What about rural? A little more. What about a mix of both? Yeah. So our state is so diverse. Now, just one more show of hands. How many of you have heard from industries in your area who are experiencing business challenges, either related to staffing shortages or inflation or something else? All of you. Yes. And that is the same for the childcare industry as well. If you don't know, there are over 15,000 childcare small businesses, nonprofits, and franchises across our great state of Texas. And the childcare subsidy program impacts half of them. That is estimated to be over 500,000 children. It's far more children than we actually serve through the childcare subsidy program. But it's because there are lots of other kiddos in those childcare settings. And these are small businesses, mostly mom and pop shops that you see in your neighborhood or family childcare homes that you may or may not see in your neighborhood. But they are really the engine of our economy, serving all of the other industries in Texas and their employees who have children just like I did, or who have teenagers, or they used to be little ones, just like many of you do. So it's a huge industry. And I hope that after this presentation today, you'll walk away with one or two ideas and resources for you to take back to your teams and say, hey, we really need to make sure that the childcare programs we serve are part of these and taking advantage of these statewide resources, because we've been really focusing as the Workforce Commission on the childcare industry and its workforce as well. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to talk about some of these the initiatives overview, and then we'll do some Q&A. But please take notes, jot down your questions, walk away with some ideas, meet with your teams later this week and say, hey, we really need this in our area because our childcare businesses need to take advantage of these opportunities. So this slide is just a snapshot of our different initiatives that I'm about to go through each one, but you can see they really fall into three buckets: either trying to build the revenue of our childcare programs, support the business side of the work, or support the childcare workers, the teachers and the staff that help our little babies in Texas grow. And so the first one I'm going to talk about here is business coaching. Have y'all heard of our business coaching effort? A little show of hands. I see some head nods. Some of y'all have, some it seems haven't. So this is a statewide initiative that's free, that's individualized coaching, open to any childcare program who needs it. We want to help these childcare providers improve revenue, decrease expenses, and address any risks that their businesses are seeing. The idea is that it helps with immediate crisis problems and also can help them dig into some of their more long-term goals and solutions. So we have, I think, over 40 business coaches right now that are available to help childcare programs. It's virtual coaching. They can help with all of these items up here on this screen. Staffing strategies, budgeting, marketing, if they're having trouble getting the seats filled. I mean, it runs the gamut, and there's even more intensive coaching if they have really specific business problems, if they're about to close their doors, if they are running into tax issues, different things like that. Our business coaches are there, free and available to help them, no strings attached. They have helped. So this was launched in August of 2021, August, September. They've helped over 1,500 providers already. Lots of one-on-one meetings at the, whatever works for the child care provider. So it's not anything that's very rigid. They've also helped providers secure over $31 million in additional federal funding on top of the many federal awards that TWC has already given out. And one part of the business coaching supports that I want to highlight is the staffing and hiring support, because we know it's not just the childcare industry, it's a lot of our industries are having trouble hiring those qualified workers and keeping them. That has been a problem in the childcare industry since before the pandemic, and it's just exacerbated. And as you know, if y'all were here for the previous session, you know that this isn't just another worker. This is someone who's really building the brains of our little children who are going to be our future workforce one day. It's very important that they get these quality staff there. And so if a child care owner or director engages in the business coaching, they will have access or can get access to Acquire for Hire, which is one job posting across multiple job sites online, so that they can spread the word that they're hiring. They can also access job posting templates, best practices, salary scales, all the things that kind of help them in making sure that they're doing, the best they can to attract good candidates. And then the coaches will help them talk about not just attracting good talent, but then retaining them. What are some of those practices? It can be things as simple as like making sure they have a lunch break. Sometimes in the childcare setting, it's really hard to pull the staff away from those classrooms. But, there are little tactics like that, and then much bigger ones that our business coaches can help them walk through, that are, tailored to exactly what they can afford and can do with the resources that they have. So what can boards do? You can connect the providers that you serve and talk to every day with these business coaching resources. It's at childcare.texas.gov. Super easy, beautiful website. There's also a communications toolkit right on the front page, I believe, or under the business coaching section, where it is social media posts, it is email templates, things that you can use so you don't have to come up with them on your own. You can just use the stock language that we've provided and links, and you can send email blasts or post on your social media pages. However you usually communicate with the child care providers that you serve. You can also make sure that every Texas Rising Star mentor has one of the flyers on here on this website, so that every time that they're in the community talking to child care providers, that they are saying, hey, if you're struggling with your business, we have some free coaching available. And then also our coaches would be happy to speak to your meetings. When you bring together your Texas Rising Star providers for a training one day, they'd be happy to join and talk for 20 minutes. So whatever you need, we're also open to other ideas that you have, but these are some resources for you here. And I believe you all have access to this PowerPoint through the conferencing app. The other, another resource we have is the Texas Child Care Availability Portal. This is at find.childcare.texas.gov. And I am surprised that that's not on this slide right here, but it is, you can also Google Texas Child Care Availability Portal and it'll come up. What it is from the child care provider perspective, is a marketing tool for them. They can very simply in 30 seconds log in and using, well, there's instructions on the availability portal, but they can log in very simply and update the number of available seats they have. If they have 3 infant and 5 preschool, they put that on there and they will populate in the top of the list where the childcare, where parents are searching for childcare. We have over 1,000 parents a week coming to that website very steadily. And we have, we get more traction sort of at different parts of the year as parents are looking for summer care right now, and then when school starts again. So it is a great tool for providers to generate. It also, a provider can go in and search for their program in the top of that website, and it gives them a unique URL. So if they don't have a website to market, a lot of them don't. They may have a Facebook page, but if they don't have a website, they can use that URL as their website, and they can put it on their materials. So it's a little marketing tool for them when they can't afford to have their own websites. So what can boards do? Obviously share information about this. We've shared various flyers for providers and parents through our childcare contacts email list for all the childcare contacts at your local workforce board, but we're always happy to send it out again. My email is at the end of this slide or at the end of this presentation. So just email me if you need any of this. You can find providers who have availability but not be part of subsidy yet. There is a way to go in and look at your own dashboard. Sorry, there's a fly up here. We have made dashboards for each local workforce board. You can log in and see which childcare providers, subsidy and not, have availability in your area. Right now, we have over 70% of providers in Texas telling us if they have availability or not. So you can go in and see, okay, this set of providers is not part of subsidy, but they have availability. And I have kiddos in my program who need a seat. So I'm going to go and contact these providers and say, hey, I see you have some availability. Do you want to be part of our subsidy program? So that is certainly a very active tool for you all to use. Again, if you have any questions about the dashboards or anything like that, just email. And then, of course, you can have Texas Rising Star mentors share this with providers. If a provider is Texas Rising Star, they're also going to show up higher in the search results. So it is another just tool in your toolkit to kind of entice people into the Texas Rising Star program. Another childcare business support that TWC has invested in is shared services alliances. So the goal of this is to help childcare businesses come together where they were operating on their own. Instead, they can operate together, get economies of scale, increase revenue, decrease costs, and improve quality. TWC had a RFP out to support up to 15 alliances across Texas. And this grant focuses on either starting new alliances or expanding additional alliances or existing alliances. So I think before the grant, there are about 5 across Texas, maybe 6. And so right now I can't talk about this grant much beyond this because we're in the active awarding phase, but very soon you will know if you have one of these in your community. So when you know that, we will email y'all. Well, through our childcare contacts, we'll let folks know. You can help recruit and engage childcare programs. Say, hey, join the Shared Service Alliance. It will help you with your business side of things. You can also use some of your 2% funding or other funding that you have that we've given you. I'll talk a little bit about that later on to fund back office solutions, that kind of like Smart Care, Pro Care, whatever it may be, Brightwheel, there are a ton of them. And they help childcare providers move from like paper files and QuickBooks and Excel sheets to one seamless system that generally reduces, saves them about 30 to 40 man hours a month, which adds up to a lot. And so you can fund those. We also are happy to talk to y'all about any ideas you have around that because we have a lot of lessons learned around that. You can coordinate your Texas Rising Star mentors to share some information about this. You can offer to participate in meetings with the childcare alliances, the shared services alliances. Part of the goal of these alliances is going to be to get people into Texas Rising Star. So I know that your doors will be knocked on by these alliances once they're awarded because they want to work with you around this. You can also consider these groups for piloting programs. When you have a shared service alliance in your community, it's a backbone entity that's working with, let's say, 10 or 15 childcare providers, sometimes more. And they are helping those providers improve their quality, get their back office in order, help them increase revenue, sharing costs. And you may also want to say, okay, well, we'd like to pilot a new strategy or a new quality initiative, maybe this would be a good group to pilot it with. So you can also sort of consider things like that. Something new that's coming up that Allison mentioned earlier is just released this week, our capacity building grants. So the objective is to put money into the community for childcare providers to expand their childcare availability, to help address the impact of the pandemic, but also help increase availability for working parents. There are startup awards for childcare programs who want to start up in a childcare desert. Those who want to start, employers who want to start up childcare programs on their work site. And then also those childcare programs who want to increase the number of infant and I think toddler seats. Is it infant and toddler or just infant? Only infant seats, for them to increase their number of infant seats or classrooms. So that can actually be a lot of different providers in your area who could end up qualifying for some of these or be interested in some of these. So it's another revenue generating component for them. So what you can do is educate childcare providers about this opportunity, outreach to those that you think would be a good fit. Do you know of a childcare program? Maybe their business isn't struggling. Maybe they're rocking and rolling and really just like plowing through and able to survive this pandemic. And you're like, man, do you want to expand your program? Do you want to go serve in a childcare desert? I know a lot of you that have rural areas in your workforce boards. Those are some of our biggest childcare deserts. And maybe it's a big barrier to a childcare program starting up is money. And I think these awards are offering up to $75,000 that we're going to provide to help them start up their business. So take a look at that. This is my colleague Kathy's email. If you're interested in this, email her, but also we have already sent out information to your executive directors and your childcare contacts about this. So if you can contact them if you need more information, or us, always happy to help. So if any of this so far has sounded very interesting to you and you're like, gosh, I really want to do more for our childcare businesses, but I just don't have the time. I don't have the staff. You're in luck, because we want to give you money for those staff to help support childcare businesses. Boards can use funding to identify existing staff or hire new staff to support our childcare businesses and outreach and support to them to help them with these programs we've talked about so far. So all you have to do is apply by July 31st. And you can, of course, send any inquiries about this to childcare.programassistance@twc.texas.gov. We would love to see every single board using this, because we know that every single board childcare providers are struggling. So helping them with their business supports or just connecting them to all of these business resources would be a great use of that staff funding. Apprenticeships. I'm sure you've heard a lot about apprenticeships just in other sort of blue collar jobs, plumbing, electrical, things like that. The idea is very much the same here in the childcare setting. It's where a childcare teacher goes to work at a childcare setting and also goes to school and comes out of it with free or very little college debt. So it helps foster sustainable pathways. The childcare program gets a dedicated, enthusiastic teacher who is there for 1 to 5 years while she's completing her college degree. And then, and also then if that teacher moves on to some other early childhood profession, that childcare provider gets a new pipeline of students and teachers who will stay there for 1 to 5 years and contribute to that learning and learn in that setting. there is, so TWC has had another RFA out for early childhood apprenticeship programs. We have awarded those to 3 different grantees that I will show on the next slide, I believe. Yep, here we go. So we are funding the either startup of early childhood apprenticeships or expansion of these programs. You can see that there's a workforce board on here. Heart of Texas has applied and awarded to start a new early childhood apprenticeship program in the Waco region. Campfire First Texas is a nonprofit, I believe, and Dallas College is, of course, a community college. And so it can be, anyone can sort of start up these apprenticeships. It's not just like one type of program can start them up. It can be different community organizations that you may have. And so we are releasing this again, and we're going to have another round of funding that we're going to give out. If this interests you remotely, please reach out to us and we'll make sure that you get a notice of the award. You can support these apprenticeship programs. If any of these are in your area, you can support them as they recruit childcare providers to participate. You can also apply for the next round of apprenticeship funding or encourage folks in your community to do so. You can consider contracting slots at apprenticeship program sites. We've talked a lot about contracted slots with you guys over the years. There are a couple of boards who are engaging in it right now, a couple of more who are interested in getting started on the path. We're here to help support you through that. And if you're, it's another capacity building mechanism for your community. We're always happy to dive into that, but we would do a whole hour-long presentation on that if I veered into that land right now. But let us know if you want to talk about contracted slots ever. And in the future, you could consider funding your own apprenticeship programs with your 2% funds if you want to do that. We are going to also evaluate these programs as we do them and publish reports on lessons learned. So hopefully it will give future communities who are interested in starting apprenticeship programs sort of a playbook to do this work. Professional development scholarships. This is something that we've been investing in for a long time. We want to support early childhood professionals as they attain higher levels of education. This is a childcare business support because it's another great benefit that a childcare director can offer to her staff. She can say, hey, come work for me. Not only will, I pay you, give you time off and whatever benefits that they want to provide, they can say, we'll also make sure that you get into this scholarship program if you want to pursue your education. So TWC will pay for a child development associate credential, an associate's degree or bachelor's degree. The funds can also cover release time of trainees so that they can get those education and training and support the cost of a substitute teacher. I know a lot of boards do fund your own scholarship programs, so you can email Lindsay Hill down at the bottom if you want to talk through kind of like what you're funding and how to make the most of it and whether or not it complements what we offer, and maybe you can take advantage of some of what we offer so you can free up some of your funding. So there are lots of opportunities around that. Texas AUIC is the entity who runs these scholarship programs for us. There are some different options that they offer, and there is some level of flexibility that they can provide if you have been hesitant to work with them in the past. I just invite you to a conversation with us, and you can email Lindsay and just kind of talk through if you have any hesitations about it or questions about it. We're really here to help make sure that childcare providers that you serve can also benefit from what we're funding. Let's see, Board Texas Rising Stars supports. So Allison, this is another one Allison mentioned in the earlier session. boards can use some of these funds that we've made available to target recruitment and outreach activities, to provide targeted coaching and resources, to help incentivize new providers to get to higher levels of quality or sustain them. And really, you can look at the other boards, Texas Rising Star support plans, and you can see what other boards are doing if you're curious, and talk to them about it if there's something in there that interests you that you haven't really quite thought about. You can also collect data and consider writing reports on impact, best practices, and lessons learned, because we really love it when local boards are able to pilot something or start something innovative and share lessons learned with other boards, so they don't have to recreate the wheel, and then share the ideas with us. If you say, man, this really worked in our community, you might consider doing it statewide. We are always open to your ideas and feedback. Okay, pre-K partnerships. I think I only have a couple more and then we can go to questions. Pre-K partnerships. This is a mechanism for child care providers to access some of the pre-K funding that is left on the table by school districts every year. It helps child care providers increase their revenue, serve more children, and really become a player in the pre-K space. We have over 25 staff to help your local providers partner with school districts or charter schools to operate this in your community. We also have lists of all of the children who are in the child care subsidy program in your area who will qualify for free pre-K based on their income levels. So we can really match the children who are pulling down the subsidy dollars with the programs who can help pull down the pre-K dollars and give them a full day of quality instruction and care. And it is complicated, which is why we have individuals to really help from the very introduction of this idea, the calling of the school district, setting up meetings, helping with the MOUs, helping negotiate back and forth with the child care providers and the school districts. We will help your providers in your area every step of the way. So what can you do? You can inform, if you want, you can inform your child care providers about this opportunity. You can go and look at that list. If you want that list from me, you can email me or email the pre-K partnerships email address right here and ask, like, okay, who are those kiddos? Where are those providers that have pre-K eligible kids? Like, we'll help you get there. We have a partnership interest form. You can share it with providers who want or would be interested in being part of pre-K partnerships. We are especially interested in Texas Rising Star providers or those who are on that path to quality. You can also, if providers come to you and ask about this, or say, hey, I'm really nervous because all my 4-year-olds are unenrolling and going to the school around the corner. I'm very nervous about this. Do you have resources for me? Have them email this pre-K partnerships email address and we'll be happy to help them. You can also refer providers to our pre-K partnerships webpage for more information. So you should have access to all these slides and all of these links. Oh, contracted slots. So we did put this in here. So basically what contracted slots is where right now childcare is provided to parents, and the parent goes and picks the child care provider, and hopefully they're in the subsidy program, and if they're not, they ask them to be, and you know, that's how it's been for decades here. The contracted slots opportunity is for an opportunity for you as a very influential community organization to look and see, in this childcare desert, in this rural area, I don't have any quality programs. I do have a couple of subsidy programs, but they're not in Texas Rising Star yet. You can say, hey, if you become Texas Rising Star, I will make sure to fund some slots for you and parents who are on our wait list, who I know want care in that area. because they live around there and they're asking for it, we'll be sure to let them know and enroll them in your program. And so it is also another one of these newer ideas. It comes with a lot of questions, and we are here to support you through this every step of the way. If this is something you're interested in, again, email us. We have 2 boards. There was a funding opportunity tied to this. And so we have 2 boards who have walked into that, but you can always just do contracted slots with the existing funding you have available. It's not prohibited. It's very much allowed. And so we are happy to help support you if you're interested in contracting these providers. If this sounds interesting, but you're like, oh, I don't really know the needs in my community. I don't really know where my parents want care. Ask them, do a survey, start tracking some of these needs. That could be a really great first step to informing you and getting your wheels turning about, okay, what do parents really need? Where are we missing out on quality? What are the kids on our wait lists in terms of their different ages? Do we have a ton of infants on there and we just really need more infant space? You can contract for more infant space. So there are strategies for this that we are happy to help you with. You can, 3rd bullet, ask us for assistance or guidance anytime. And of course, stay tuned for best practices from us around this. We will learn from the 2 boards that are actively working on their pilot plans, and we will be sure to share them out through the Child Care Network meetings or other methods as it comes available. We also have provider growth support payments. This supports a temporary increase in the child care provider reimbursement rates. So you may know that right now we are paying 20% more than normally we do, and that's expiring at the end of September of this year. So you can use this as a mechanism to recruit providers into the subsidy program. Even though this is about to expire in September, you will have seen that we have done a lot to support childcare providers through the course of the pandemic. And it is a great diversifying of their revenue streams. Instead of only relying on private pay parents and whatever comes with that market, they can also serve our children through the subsidy and diversify their funding streams a little bit, which is just a smart business move. So this can be a mechanism to help you recruit providers into the subsidy program. Also, last year we developed a Texas Rising Star revenue calculator tool to help you actively go into a childcare program and say, okay, how many kids do you have on private pay and what's your tuition? It's a very simple, beautiful spreadsheet. And you can calculate how much money they're getting from the subsidy program right now and what they would get if they were 2-star, 3-star, or 4-star. Oftentimes it's thousands more dollars a month. I mean, it's very significant. We've increased the Texas Rising Star reimbursement rates quite a bit. Even before the pandemic in 2019, we had huge rate increases. And unfortunately, our childcare providers who haven't been part of the Texas Rising Star program just don't know that. So you can use this also as a marketing tool. So here are mine and Allison's email addresses. Jot them down, flood our inboxes with ideas and questions. But yeah, that's the end of the presentation portion. Do we have any questions? Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I want to make sure we hear your question.
Just a logistical question. Can you confirm that the board support for the childcare industry applications are due at the end of July? Okay, thank you. Allison is nodding. Thanks.
Was it wrong on there? Okay. End of July.
I did have one question. I know our providers have learned about the coaching and has been very helpful. I wonder if, is there a presentation that they can share with whenever we get together with our providers? Like they can present it to the providers. It's a lot better if they can present than hearing it from individuals. They might get a better understanding or more information about other things that each provider hasn't seen.
Yes, that is a great idea. So I'm just going back here to that. I think we're here. Yes. Email Gary. Okay, let me back up. If you didn't hear his question, if you would like our business coaches to present at some of your events or meetings where childcare providers will be present, our business coaches are more than happy to do that. All you need to do is email Gary, Gary, at civstrat.com. So Civ Strat, as in Civitas Strategies. So that's right here. Email him, and they'd be happy to do that.
Any other questions? Melissa, do we have any virtual questions?
So I have a question about best practices. We have a city that has no childcare, and their local government is coming to us and saying, we'll give them a building if they'll open a childcare center. And so now we're at a point where we're looking at centers in Amarillo that have multiple locations, and we're going to try to reach out to them to see if we can convince them to go into a facility in Friona, which is about an hour and a half away. And so has anybody dealt with this, having to reach out and say, hey, we've got this building, will you go over there?
Yeah, there are a couple of things that come to mind here. One, that's a great idea to reach out to local providers who may be interested in expanding. Two, you can talk to our business coaches. They would even be happy to talk to you and give you some advice or strategies around that. They have one of the many categories that they offer coaching on is the expansion of childcare businesses. So they can offer coaching to you or to the providers. The other thing I will mention is the capacity building grants. You can email Kathy Arwood. Her email is right here, catherine.arwood@twc.texas.gov, to make sure that those childcare providers, if they're wanting to expand in a childcare desert, if you say that there's no childcare, it should be labeled as a desert, then they can get additional funding for that. Is there anything, Allison, that you would add to this?
So those capacity building grants, that's great if you've got a facility identified, because the one thing that CCDF funds cannot be used for is construction or major renovation. But if the program is in a desert, and we have a list of zip codes, if they're in a desert or if they're expanding infant capacity, they'll likely qualify for some of that funding. And it could be used to, buy furniture, buy rugs, update fixtures, put the tiny potties in, and all the materials that they might need to start up a program. And so there are two phases of that funding that new programs can access. There's an initial startup award. So programs that are eligible can get that money before they actually obtain their permit. So while they're in the process of working with a business coach, they've got a business plan and they're trying to set up their new childcare business and get the doors open. And then once they're permitted, they may qualify for an additional award that is an initial operating award. So that's intended to help support the costs of operating their business when they first start up and they may not be at full enrollment.
We've done a business coach with the city, but we have not done a business coach with the potential expansion that we're going to ask for. So
Yeah, and they'd be happy to. So I know that some of the business coaches have already talked to providers about expansion too. Some of the scenarios are hey, you don't really have a business plan. You are under enrolled as it is. Are you sure you want to expand? And then some of the conversations go, wow, you are on top of it. You have all of these things in place. Let us help you get a couple of more. And here are your options for loans to help you with your expansion. So they really do tailor it to individual provider needs. And as we're seeing another question.
Two questions. First question, on the slots, you said 2 boards were demoing or piloting. Who are those 2 boards?
Alamo and Dallas.
And then second question, in reference to Civitas strategies, do they have customer survey responses that we could share with providers when they're saying, okay, do I really want to engage with this coach, and perhaps be able to refer them to, these are what your peers are saying about them, and give that as testimony? Do you have
Yes.
a resource for that?
I think that they've been collecting some testimonies from childcare providers. So if you want to email Gary at CivStrat, let me go back to his email, Gary at civstrat.com, and ask him for that. They will give you that. Mhm.
Question of clarification.
Mhm.
So access to business coaches. Does an entity or individual that has not started up just yet have access to those coaches?
Yes.
Awesome.
They've definitely talked with folks who are just thinking about it, or exploring the idea. Mhm. And also,
I'm sorry.
also, I was just going to point out the, going back to the board staff support. If your wheels are turning about things that you want to have a body who can help reach out to programs, who can look at the childcare desert data, who can do all of that, like, you can apply for the board staff support grants to help fund a staff person for that. No one's applied yet, by the way. So, we have 1 now? Okay. We have 1. We hope to have 28. Other questions? Musings, ideas? Going once? We have time. Well, if you don't have questions, Allison and I will be here if you want to just talk individually. I know a lot of you have your own sort of individual ideas and things that you may want feedback on. So that's something else that we're always here to just be partners and thought partners in this work to support the programs. Because at the end of the day, TWC can have great ideas and put funding behind things based on needs we see, but you are the ones who talk to the providers every day and know your communities best. And so we really are partners with you in this. All right, thanks for being here.